Story 1. Go to work, come home, watch TV, repeat. Weekends are spent working just to make it, or if you're lucky, relaxing from brutal work weeks. Edit. I don't do this. It's what I see in my peers my age, late 20s. I have a very active life and enjoy it. I am not depressed anymore and don't feel the least bit lonely. Story 2. People do not spend time with other people like they used to. From an increase in time spent online, working from home, pandemic concerns, and dwindling or monetized public spaces, we live a more insular life than we used to. I think, like many other species, humans are social creatures and we suffer mentally when there is a lack of genuine in-person interaction. Story 3. Personally, for me, it's because I'm always working and then going to the gym straight after work. I don't have the time to get emotionally involved anymore. The pandemic made the whole leave work at the office after 5 p.m. a lot harder. I'm working all year round to only afford rent because there is no longer a thing called disposable income. The cost of living crisis here in the United Kingdom made basic dates, such as coffee, expensive. Story 4. I cannot speak for other men, but from my and my friends' experiences, there is just too much else happening that takes people away from relationships, making a lot feel unready for a serious relationship. Story 5. A lot of people are describing a phenomenon without knowing what to call it. The loss of the third place. It's a location outside of the home and work where you can hang out recreationally. Usually, it is somewhat egalitarian, with minimal expectations to spend money or keep up appearances. Basically, a place to go to be social and to interact with your local community. Story 6. We live in a very isolated society. We wake up, go to work, come home, watch TV, go to bed, and repeat. Our lifestyles don't give us consistent time or places to meet new people with shared interests and build community. Most people can't afford it either. This leads to difficulty in finding a partner or making new friends outside of work. One solid plan that I recommend is to meet your neighbors if you haven't already. Maybe you could plan activities like a community barbecue in the summers, a gardening club, or set up a community fridge or pantry for those in need around you. Game shops tend to have events for Warhammer tabletop games and Magic the Gathering, though it's not for everyone because there are issues with toxicity in a lot of scenes that take the games too seriously. Book clubs are great too. The hurdle that I've found with trying to meet and engage with neighbors is my own anxiety and the daunting feeling of putting myself out there. I'm confident that a lot of people have similar anxiety and comfort zone issues, and it's worth researching and doing self-exploration to understand. Another avenue worth looking into is your local library. They tend to have amazing resources for research and sometimes even legal sections with pamphlets about your rights and how to get a good attorney. Libraries also host a lot of community events that might be of interest. Also worth mentioning is that everything I've said applies to women and non-binary individuals as well. Loneliness is a societal problem, not a gendered one. Some aspects may or may not skew based on gender, but ultimately everyone gets hit by it one way or another. Story 7. I work from home. None of my guy friends ever want to do anything besides. You can come over and smoke if you want. Most of them are always with their girlfriends, wives, or are starting families or just tired after work. I can't speak for all of you, but I know for my guy friends, our friendship is mostly maintained by sharing memes a few times a week, and that's about it. We never call each other just to talk, don't text each other throughout the day, and we hang out maybe once a month. It's basically impossible to get more than 2 or more of my friends in one place at the same time. All of my guy friends feel like acquaintances at best. Honestly, the people I hang around with most are dates that I meet on Hinge, because at least they don't bail last minute and actually want to go somewhere or do something new. Story 8. It is easy to pass off men as sex-crazed, but the part that we don't say enough out loud is that we crave intimacy more than sex. The touch, the attention, the connection actually does mean more to us than the physical release. We can be in a relationship and still be really lonely without that intimacy. Story 9. After high school and college, it gets difficult to form friendships. I left my old high school friends because they weren't good for me to be around. I attend an online college, so I am not going to meet anyone that way. I personally am not good with women, so I gave up on dating. If you're not good socially or if society rejects you, then there's not much you can do. I am personally okay with being alone for the most part. but sometimes it hurts. Story 10. Solitude is dangerous. It's very addictive. It becomes a habit after you realize how peaceful and calm it is. It's like you don't want to deal with people anymore because they drain your energy. Jim Carrey. This is pretty much where I'm at in life. Each and every single interaction, even with family, drains me. The thought of being around other people creates a sensation of dread. At this juncture in life, I only desire a quiet place with no sounds of humanity. Someplace I can close my eyes and trust that my peace won't be interrupted by someone else. Story 11. I think a bunch of us are just thinking, watching, trying to find a way out of the situation we are in, and not wanting to burden anyone else with it. Story 12. Not just for men, but I really do think the old cliche of social media has allowed us to have more friends but no real connection. No one has the attention span to get to know anyone deeper anymore. A lot of friendships are a mile wide and an inch deep. There's just a general disconnection that leaves a lot of people actually lonely. Story 13. I have to work 50 hours a week just to keep a roof over my head. Even if I wanted friends, I don't have the money to go do things. I go on hikes, I write, and I use the internet because that is inexpensive. I'm not making friends those ways. If rent was legally capped at $500, I guarantee more people would make an effort to live life and make friends. Story 14. I think other people here have had a pretty good grasp, but let me try to get it all in one place. 1. Atomization. Public meeting spaces are becoming fewer and far between. There aren't many places you can just go to and exist, and even fewer that foster community. Love it or hate it, religion has a lot of social benefits. We've definitely moved more and more away from it, but didn't replace it with anything similar. It's just harder than ever to have random, casual encounters with strangers to socialize. Quality of interactions. Even among the interactions people do have, there are fewer genuine interactions. People get their social fix by looking for dates on Tinder and Bumble or hanging out with friends on Discord. And that's absolutely better than nothing, but it's fundamentally different from in-person interactions. The closest thing most people get to genuine interactions is the bar scene, and that isn't exactly the setup for many lifelong friendships or relationships. Changing expectations, moving from general woes to men specifically, nobody could have prepared these young men for the paradigm shift that's come in the past 15 to 20 years. We're stuck with one foot in the past where men are supposed to be these stoic pillars of rationality, productivity, and masculinity, and the other foot is in the progressive space of equality, anti-patriarchy, and understanding. So women are able to provide for themselves for the first time in human history, and a salary isn't enough to guarantee a man a partner. So even if you did everything you were supposed to, you feel demonized and shamed for it. It's still not enough. And that dejection and feeling of being sold a false bill of goods will naturally lead to resentment and withdrawal. Lack of outlets. And to cap it off, men typically aren't given tools to process these feelings internally, or a space where it's okay to express them externally. They're frequently invalidated under the umbrella term of male privilege and oppression Olympic-style dismissal. There aren't many role models to look to, so the only people that speak to them are people like Andrew Tate and Gary Vaynerchuk who just get paid to tell men it isn't their fault while feeding them misleading advice to keep them miserable. The result? Men are lonely because, in terms of socialization, we have done the equivalent of replacing our entire diet with one chicken nugget a day. Interactions are cheaper and fewer. There is a mismatch in expectations from what we were told to expect and what the world is like, and there's a complete lack of direction. And we are simultaneously told to not have emotions, being shamed when we say there is a problem, and being fully expected to process everything internally with no help or conception of what that looks like. The result? Bottle and withdraw. Story 15. There is a rise in loneliness among everyone today. We live in a very low-trust society, and everyone is glued to social media and/or spends most of their free time doing solitary activities. When you can get so much entertainment and instant gratification from the comfort of your own home, a lot of people see no point in even doing anything else. Story 16. Because we cannot afford to do anything except be at work for over 50 hours a week, making some other person rich while I still cannot afford a one-bedroom apartment and eat at the same time. Story 17. In-person groups like civic organizations, churches, and hobbyist groups are down. I think that's a lot of it. We've become more insular since it's just easier to interact virtually than leave the house. Thus, it becomes imperative to proactively seek out and maintain relationships, which a lot of people, men and women, are not good at. I suspect men are worse at this than women. For example, I text with my closest friends maybe once a month or so. It has literally never occurred to me to actually call just to chat. And once kids are in the mix, you can almost forget about trying to coordinate hanging out in person. It's different once you're out of school. Back then, you were essentially provided potential friends due to similar demographics and sheer proximity. Some people have a hard time making friends without that help. Story 18. I am not even trying to find a girl anymore. Everything is so hard. I don't want to try anymore. Nobody would even want me. I don't want to waste time. Yes, I am also lonely. Story 19. Lack of social skills. Women do not need the same things from men in a relationship as they used to. Online dating has allowed women a lot more options than before. The average man's confidence is low these days, and in general, no one was able to prepare this generation of men for the real world. I am sure there are more reasons, but that is what came to mind right away. Story 20. 3/4 of my money goes to rent, bills, utilities, and food. As per the last woman who chatted with me, she called me a broke ass. Also, my hair is receding. Good times. Story 21. There's simply a lack of social programs that target men. Women have a number of social programs, from postpartum groups and introduction to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics groups, to women's groups on campuses and everything under the sun. I'm not sitting here and saying it's not fair, as all of these programs have been fantastic for women and society as a whole. However, there does need to be a societal pivot to recognize that similar social programs should be funded to target men and the aspects of their life where support is needed. I don't think tearing down women's groups is the answer. I'd much rather support men than diminish women's opportunities. Story 22. As an American who has spent time overseas in several places, I can say America as a country does not value community. They value hyper-individualization, me, me, me. Most Americans will not do things that don't directly benefit them, and this has now turned into a very selfish, very distant culture. Add lack of walkable communities due to car culture and bam, no one is actually interacting with each other. Story 23. One thing I noticed when speaking to people about men's problems is that some people say, yeah, but women go through this and that. While I fully understand women have their issues, when we talk about men's issues, we are by no means trying to start a gender war. Story 24. Technology and the internet age are big factors for sure. I saw statistics showing an even higher rate in women. It is just society right now. With the combination of a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic and the increase in technology, it has forced a lot of people into isolation because it is easy to be isolated now. Story 25. It feels like there is an overwhelmingly negative view of men. I hear and read comments about how terrible or incompetent men are on an almost daily basis. It gets really discouraging and makes me feel very unwanted, like I make things worse just by being a guy. Edit typo. Story 26. Men's clubs, lasting relationships from long-term jobs, church attendance, recreational sports, living where you grew up with access to old friends. These are all things that used to keep men socializing, but they are on the decline. With the cost of living the way it is, many young people are even shying away from hobbies. The same thing is happening to women, of course, but something about the way we raise boys doesn't teach them to prioritize and maintain relationships the same way once regular contact is broken. On top of that, there are these men who are preaching alpha nonsense that translates to teaching that all other men are competition, not friends, and that can't be helping at all. So you have a group of young men who go to work, go home, maybe go to the gym, and that's it. Of course, they're lonely. Story 27. In Western culture, this exists more than where I am from, which is the Middle East. I lived 15 years in the Middle East, Jordan, and now 7 years in the United Kingdom. The main reason is that Western men don't value platonic male friendships and connections. They don't go with other men for coffee, cinema, or do fun things other than clubbing and bars. The reason being is they only waste money if there is any opportunity to have sex. Like one time I asked my friend, let's go to a restaurant, and he straight up told me I can put this money on a date and get sex. while my other ethnic friends were happy to go with me. This is why ethnic minorities don't suffer from the same level of loneliness. Romance and relationships are one aspect of our lives rather than the main focus outside of work. We can go to theme parks, do crazy stuff, and even have brunch with other guys. We don't feel like we are wasting money, but rather enjoying each other's company. This over-reliance and focus on sex and romance by Western men leaves them without genuine platonic male friendships.